That's good for Sleazy Michael. Yeah, Sleazy Michael likes a nice box with a hole in it. Oh, yeah. Whodunnit. Oh, I've done it 3 times today already. Oh, Island of Blood. Oh, I've seen an Island of Blood. Red Bandit Courage. Oh, what do we got here? I got interviews. Commentary track. That's a nice handprint you got there. Rest in pieces. Yeah, okay, alright. I've seen some faces like that, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah, okay. Oh, another commentary track, Sam Deegan. Oh, Cat Ellinger. Oh, I love a good informative commentary track. Oh, that gets me all hot. I'm gonna have to rest after this one, if you know what I'm saying. Oh, Cementerio del Terror. Oh, Spanish, like an exotic film, if you know what I'm saying. Oh my God. Another commentary, 2 commentary tracks. Ruben Galindo Jr. Oh, I'm spitting out something right now, if you know what I'm saying. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's put that saran wrap in the hole, yeah. Oh, yeah, me your biggest fan there. Oh, I like me some good packaging. Bloody nose, empty bottles, that describes most of my nights, you know what I'm saying? Oh, yeah, okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, that looks pretty good. Oh, like myself a nice piece of art house cinema. Oh, yeah, art house. Oh, and finally, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, died out cold Santa Claus. Oh, nothing gets me hotter than the relationship between a boy and his grandfather. Let's strike that from the record. What else we got here? Oh. fucking special features. Oh god. Oh, newly scanned and restored in 4K from its 35mm original camera. Oh, I nearly unhinged my jaw just now. Yeah. Oh god. Oh god. Oh, okay. Let's put these away so I don't mess up the slipcovers. Alrighty, time for a nice review from Sleazy Michael, if you know what I'm saying. Oh my god. What year is it? Hey guys, how's it going? We've got some movies here. I only watched 3 of the ones that I actually grabbed, and as you might have noticed, I did not get everything that I probably should have. I haven't gotten I Start Counting. I didn't get Necromancer. I suck. I don't know what to tell you. But I did watch these 3. First off, I just want to mention Deadly Games. I don't know if I'll be able to review it before Black Friday, just because time is coming down. I've been just non-stop busy. But since it won't be discounted, let me just say this much. It's a great film. It's a perfect Christmas movie. I love it. And having just watched some bits and bobs, it appears that Vinegar Syndrome, unsurprisingly, presented us with an early Christmas present. It looks fantastic. Buy it. If you want to wait for a sale, that's cool too, I guess. But in my personal opinion, you should have this one for the holidays. Perfect viewing experience. Pick that shit up. But let's talk about these 3 guys real quick. So we've got Rest in Pieces, we've got Cemetery of Terror, and we got... Fuck. So we got Whodunnit, we got Cemetery of Terror, we got Rest in Pieces. Let's just dig through these real fast, and let's talk about them. So first, and I'm going to do this in order of least to most favorite, but I want to just, again, say right off the bat, this is a great selection of movies. Like, this, for an October bundle, fantastic stuff. I really enjoyed it. God, my beard's already coming back in. That's how long it's been since I started going through these. Jesus Christ. Anyway, so I'm going to go through them from least to best, but remember, these are all worthwhile films. So we're going to start off with the one that I know Brad Henderson is going to hate me for saying this, but the one that I found least amazing, and that is Whodunnit, a.k.a. Island of Blood. Neither of these covers is terribly accurate. So this mask right here is barely in the movie. This mask shows up in the movie for maybe, I'll be kind and say 3 minutes. I'm gonna say it has 3 minutes of screen time. This is not the killer's look in the movie. So this is even and this one is also kind of inaccurate as well. So but you know, it's perfect. It's good artwork. It's just it doesn't really show you what the movie is. Anyway, let's read what they say it is about. In a large house on an otherwise uninhabited in a large house on an otherwise uninhabited Pacific island, a group of hopeful young actors have been assembled to prepare for their roles in what they've been told will be a very unique, family-oriented film. But on their first night, one of them is horribly boiled alive and dies. Although initially assumed to be an accident, as other mangled and mutilated bodies begin to appear, it becomes apparent that a madman is lurking among them and seems to be concocting all of the diabolical deaths in accordance with the macabre lyrics to an obscure song. Yeah, that's accurate. That's the plot. It doesn't
The revealing of that plot is very poorly done. But yeah, William T. Nod, by all accounts, great guy. Did not make what I would call a particularly great film, but an enjoyable film. He made a movie that is interesting. Whodunnit is a strange mix of vibes. On the one hand, it's obviously attempting to marry the slasher genre with its ultimate forebear, Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None, aka we've got a bunch of characters, most of whom have the potential to be the killer, gathering on an island to participate in a very poorly explained low-budget movie, of which we see no real actual work being done. On the other hand, it's so poorly put together for the bulk of the runtime, with characters reacting to seriously horrific situations with remarkably little surprise or follow-through, and murder methods that often feel needlessly elaborate and poorly thought out. Our cast of nobodies are just picked off one by one, leading to a double reveal that will make you go, huh. Actually, two parts of that sentence are a little unfair. The first twist is very much a bit of a letdown, but the second twist is actually a lot of fun and makes the whole thing far more worthwhile and rewatchable. The cast, meanwhile, is certainly not filled with future Brad Pitts or anything, but does feature some notable names. Dark Shadows' Michael Stroke shows up briefly as the red herring, mayor. Total hero type Terrence Goodman was in a few notable soaps and 1976's Ode to Billy Joe, and Stephen Tash, who plays Phil, was the student Bill Murray fucks with at the start of Ghostbusters. Yeah. I guess there's not much here, actually. Awkward. D.P. Thomas Spalding also shot The Blob. That's something, I guess. Anyway, Whodunnit is a perfectly fine slasher, again made better by its bizarre twist ending. The plot concerning a tape deck as one of the killer's primary instruments is very poorly realized and tends to be kinda hard to follow. The kills range wildly from pretty solid gory fun to stupefyingly ridiculous, especially the utterly bewildering use of a boiling pool. However, Vinegar Syndrome's scan of the 35mm original negative transfer is a massive improvement over the previous release, which made the plot even harder to follow due to making this already dark and grainy film, well, more dark and grainy. Let's see, special features include a commentary by The Hysteria Continues. Continues? Jesus Christ. Commentary by The Hysteria Continues. It's extremely informative and, as always, pretty entertaining. They give us a lot of insight, not only into the production, but also just give us some nice critical analysis, and that's always enjoyable. Blood and Sweaters is an interview with actor Terrence Goodman. 14 minutes. That one's shockingly not conducted remotely. That's one of the cool things about these movies. There's actually some non-remote interviews. That's weird. He talks the build nod mindset, the impetus behind the film, challenges on the super low budget shoot, and why this chick is on crutches for no discernible reason. Maybe my favorite part is when he says he didn't expect the movie to actually get released, which, yeah, that's fair. Dying for the Opportunity is an interview with actor Jim Piper. That one's 13 minutes. Jim played the most annoying little nerd fuck I've ever seen in a movie, so it's nice that he seems like a pretty cool dude. He talks about technical issues, trying to get his reel together back in the day, and working with Bill Nod. He also talks about his work as a voice actor, which is actually pretty interesting. That's probably the most interesting part of the interview. Containing the Excitement is an interview with actress Maria-Elise Rekazner? That's 35 minutes. 35 minutes. Talks about working on her first feature film, the filming conditions, meeting friends on Island of Blood, life after acting, and much more. She's super charming, and it's nice to hear Brad Henderson go through his list of questions without getting edited out. It's nice to just hear it, almost like not quite a conversation, but, a nice back and forth. Cutting a long story short is an interview with editor Harry Riot. That one's 37 minutes. He doesn't remember a ton about the movie, but he talks about the craft of editing and the horror films he worked on, including Nightmare on Elm Street 4, 5, and 6. Really good interview right there. So minus that original theatrical trailer that rounds out the disc, that's a total of about 100 minutes of interview material plus the aforementioned commentary. Not too shabby. Pretty good shit right there. So, if you've seen this movie before on VHS, for example, and you have a fond memory for it, or you just like kind of kind of daft movies that get by on really just enthusiasm, then this one might be for you. It is aggressively stupid. Like, I really cannot fully explain how dumb Whodunnit is. It is just not a very well thought out film. The main conceit barely gets across. The characters don't seem to understand how they're supposed to react to serious situations. It's a whole bucket of what the fuck. But I had a good time. I can understand why Brad is so into this movie. I was not as into it, which is shock and awe. But I definitely, I give it a simple, not too high, not too low, but right in the middle, recommend. Next up, we've got Rest in Pieces, Jose Larraz's Rest in Pieces, which has some interesting artwork on it. I really like this artwork, and inside it's just the same stuff, but good shit. Let's just go ahead and read this out real quick. Helen Hewitt has inherited her recently deceased Aunt Catherine's humongous country villa. After arriving at humongous country villa, is it really a humongous country? It's not that big of a house. It doesn't look like that big of a house, honestly. Like maybe it's a filming error, but it does not look like that large of a... Anyway, it doesn't matter. After arriving at their new home, she and her husband Bob immediately feel a sense of unease and hostility from the estate's staff and tenants, all of whom do their best to make the young couple feel unwelcome. As strange and increasingly sinister events begin to take place around her, Helen becomes determined to uncover the truth about the goings-on and slowly begins to unearth the horrifying and unspeakable evil occurring at the mysterious mansion. Again, I don't think it's a mansion. I do not consider that a mansion. Anyway, interesting film. So this joint contains many of the same issues as Whodunnit, plenty of iffy executions, lots of what the fuckery, some truly horrendous acting, especially from our lead. She is not great.
You make me suffer.
My mission in life cause hours and hours of suffering.
That said, the Larraz touch helps this one really succeed far more, in my opinion. His approach is stylish, albeit hindered by the low budget, and utilizes plenty of strange choices in bringing his film to life. His use of slow motion, the choice to have his story set in one of the least impressive sort of mansions in all of cinema, and the bizarre feel of the Spanish film trying to feel American while also employing a bunch of British actors is kinda intoxicating as it goes along. Like, it really grabbed me after, the first 20 minutes I was a little unsure. But then around I want to say the 30, 35 minute mark, I really it took me by the balls and just wouldn't let go. And actually, as I was scanning through it later, a lot happens in a fairly short period of time. This is a pretty substantially plotted film, especially for the budget. The actual setting is very limited, but what actually occurs in this, there's a lot of twists and turns that this sucker takes, a lot of characters, and a pretty heady concept. Which is commendable. And all of it seems to take place in another dimension, and that kept my interest even when Larraz lets the pacing slow down a bit too much. The final product feels almost like a really low-rent, melodramatic Euro riff on Dead and Buried, although I'm sure there's a better comparison out there. I'm probably just not connecting it. Beyond all that, I appreciate that Larraz tries and succeeds to a degree to critique class division and what we now would call toxic masculinity. He does so with a restrained approach, rarely giving in to the path of least resistance. It's not exactly genius, but it's refreshing considering how on the nose many low-budget horror films with a socio-political point of view tend to be. It helps that the whole film, and I really can't stress this enough, is bonkers banana pants. Oh, and also Jack Taylor is in this movie playing a blind guy, I guess. It's hard. It's iffy. He's a lot of fun when he's given time, as is his way, but he's very much a background player in this film, which is so weird. It's kind of similar to his role in Edge of the Axe. It really feels like, oh, there's Jack Taylor, and you think he's going to be much more substantial than he winds up being. I don't know what the deal is there, but yeah, weird use of Jack Taylor. The only other Larraz films I've seen are Edge of the Axe and Deadly Manor, and I'd say that Rest in Pieces, while easily the least impressive on a technical level, is easily more worthwhile than Deadly Manor, even though I do like Deadly Manor. I think this is a superior film. It's possibly not quite as captivating as Edge of the Axe. That one's tough. I would put this right like on the same tier as Edge of the Axe, maybe above it. I'd have to rewatch the film. I think it hurts my comparison just because Edge of the Axe is just a much more well-made film, whereas this one, it feels far more almost cringe at times and far more like an actual bad movie, although it most certainly is not, but it's definitely more, the kind of movie that someone would watch and go, that's a bad movie, versus Edge of the Axe, which is in and of itself one of those movies, so I guess I'm just running in circles here. The transfer, by the way, is a 4K scan of the original camera negative, making this another very high-quality Vinegar Syndrome release. These scans are really solid. You know what Vinegar Syndrome does. They don't suck at their jobs. I feel weird even talking about their scans at this point, because it's just it's always the same thing. It's, well, maybe the source was a little shabby, but it looks great because they did a good job. What I love about Vinegar Syndrome is they are such consummate professionals, and they're so serious about getting things done the right way without cutting corners, and I really commend them. Like, they are very much film lovers, and that's why I do this every month. That's why I don't skip my Vinegar Syndrome releases, except for when I hold them off for later, like Thou Code Santa Claus. Anyway, as far as extras go, we get a commentary by Sam Deegan and Kat Ellinger. As usual, these ladies are extremely knowledgeable, and they pull every genre reference under the sun in exploring Rest in Pieces, head to toe. They also, again, as usual, helped me to appreciate the whole movie more for a second viewing. Like, I think I actually wound up leaving that commentary enjoying the film more than I did before. Which is a weird thing. It's not a weird thing. That's basically what commentaries are. I think a good commentary actually does that. Yeah. Anyway, Piece by Piece is an interview with Scott Thompson Baker. It's 17 minutes. It explains the origin of the title, working on Spanish productions, seeing the movie for the first time 6 months before this interview, and all the fun he had during the shoot. We also get 2 separate soundtracks, English and Spanish, and that's I think that's it. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. So, kind of lacks on the extras, but a commentary is always worthwhile. By the way, this particular segment is brought to you by But Does It Have a Commentary? T-shirt, coffee mug, and other items in the Michael Keene's Merch Palace merch store, which is linked down below. Grab yourself a shirt, guys, or maybe a coffee cup. We also have And Orville Ketchum as himself shirts, a very loving tribute to a phenomenal couple of films, Sorority House Massacre 2 and Hard to Die. Go grab those. That's the plug. I plugged the thing. There we go. I'm a YouTuber. And finally, Cemetery of Terror. Now, this should not be surprising for anyone that I loved this movie the most out of these 3 because, yeah, it's the one and only Ruben Galindo Jr. And, goddamn, that man, right out of the gate, this is his first movie, and he just fucking got it. Just fucking got it. As is his way. So, yeah, let's just dig into this plot. It's Halloween night, and a group of bored teenagers decide to pull a ghastly prank as a means of getting lucky, stealing a corpse from the local morgue and taking it to a nearby cemetery where they perform a satanic ritual in an attempt to bring it back to life. Unfortunately, they happen to choose the body of a savage serial killer who has just been shot dead by police, ending a recent spate of satanically influenced murders, unwittingly reviving the bloodthirsty sadist to the realm of the undead. The group of fun-seeking youngsters risk becoming dinner for the devil-worshipping zombie with only a cult expert, Dr. Cardin, legendary Mexican character actor Hugo Stiglitz, able to try and put an end to the madness. This movie is fucking sick as hell. Much like Grave Robbers, the story here involves 3 groups of characters, some teenish types who decide to desecrate a grave, some other kids, in this case actual children, who wind up entangled in the mess, and a cop tasked with saving the day while contending with his children being in danger. Really, they're very similar on a script level, although this is a bit more complicated and unrefined. I think this one juggles the elements in a little bit more of a roughshod manner. It's a minor complaint. It's not even a complaint, it's just an observation when it comes right down to it. This one's a little bit more all over the place, whereas I feel like Grave Robbers has a very refined vision, and it knows exactly what it wants to do. I feel like this one, Ruben Galindo Jr., he says that his influences are thriller and Halloween, which both very much come across, but by trying to mix those, it feels very all over the place, which is fine. I love all over the place movies, so that's a-okay in my book. Hugo Stiglitz makes for an enjoyable discount Dr. Loomis. Our killer is basically George Eastman in Anthropophagus, and the mood of the whole affair really signals the modern Gothic tone that will come in the form of Grave Robbers 3 years later. This is a film that shows a lot of artistic integrity and hard work, even if it doesn't pay off every time. The pacing is a bit strange, and I'm not sure the group of trick-or-treaters is necessary, but the sheer batshittery afoot makes up for any small issues. Oh, and it's at once a slasher film, a possession film, and a zombie film. If you can't appreciate that level of low-budget excess, then I don't think we can be friends. Yeah, I love this movie. I am really excited. I'm assuming that Don't Panic is one of the surprise titles for Black Friday. I could be wrong about that, but that's what I'm guessing. And if that's the case, if they finish their sort of Ruben Galindo Jr. Trilogy, I cannot wait to do that marathon. Like, I am going to just go hog wild on that marathon. So fun. I think that this is, Rest in Pieces and Whodunnit both have a very sort of low-end charm to them. And Cemetery of Terror does not feel low-end. Like, it definitely feels low-budget. It does not feel like a big-budgeted film, of course. But it definitely feels like a filmmaker who not only has a vision, but also knows how to execute that vision reasonably well. There are some revealing errors. There are some effects that don't work as well as others. And again, the story is all over the place. But, like, it feels like a real movie that, if... Like, I know that this has a bit of a cult reputation in Mexico. And I get that. Like, it feels like one of those movies, like your Night of the Comet types, maybe, where, it's one of those movies that all horror fans should know. It shouldn't necessarily be a mainstream, like, well-tread film, but it should be something where a lot of people know it. And I feel like if this came out in the United States, if it wasn't, originally English film, if it was a American-produced film, I feel like maybe that might have been, like, that would have happened. It would have turned into almost like a, like a minor cult classic for us. And instead, it's one of those that, people really into Mexican horror know, but I don't think that a lot of American viewers who are not into that scene necessarily ever picked up on. So this is a great opportunity for people to really dig into some solid Mexican cinema, and I really just cannot recommend this highly enough. Goes together perfectly with Grave Robbers. If you watched Grave Robbers and you were into that, fucking right here. Just a rougher version, really, with a lot more weird supernatural elements. So I love this movie. Cannot wait to rewatch it. Honestly, can't wait to rewatch all of them. Whodunnit, I'm a little, that one I can wait a little bit on, but Rest in Pieces was a strange film. Cemetery of Terror also is a very strange film. I didn't even go over the extras for Cemetery of Terror. Let's look at those real quick. I have them all written down. Commentary by Ruben Galindo Jr., who immediately cites thriller and Halloween as examples of inspiration. He's very self-critical, which is a trait I really appreciate in directors, and provides plenty of context and behind-the-scenes insight. He does do that thing where he just kind of talks about what's happening on screen. Is that kind of Arnold Schwarzenegger thing where he's just like, this is what's happening in this scene. You can tell. Oh, she's scared right now. You can tell because her face is making that scared thing, Oh, I'm on commentary. You can't actually see my... It's okay. So, you know, it has that thing going on, but he gets a pass for being a goddamn baller, you know? We also get a second commentary by The Hysteria Continues. I don't know why I can't say their name today. We get a second commentary from the... We get a second commentary from The Hysteria Continues. It's a potentially even more informative commentary than Galindo Jr.'s. But either way, it's of course, another solid commentary track. Hysteria Continues, always great. Between the two of these commentaries, I really couldn't ask for much more. You get some filmmaker insight, and then you get these guys who, you know, have done their homework and dig deep into the film, and I just love them. It's something I can just throw on and listen to and enjoy. You know, like while I'm working, I can just like hang back and listen to them like I would listen to a podcast, which makes sense since they are a podcast. Digging Your Own Grave is an interview with Ruben Galindo Jr. It's 34 minutes. This one's another winner, seemingly from the same day as the interview for the Grave Robbers disc. He talks tackling his first film, DP issues, working with the composer, the editor, reactions to the film, that sort of thing. Really pretty all-encompassing interview. History of the film, that sort of thing. South of the Border Horror is a video call, or a video conference, but it's a video call, with Rene Cardona III. That one's 36 minutes. He played Oscar in the film. He's a writer and director in his own right. He talks about being a child star, being in the industry his whole life, working with Galindo Jr., his relationship with Hugo Stiglitz, and some other tidbits about filming. So he's a spirited fella. Who maybe not as informative, but certainly an enjoyable listen. You know, none of these guys are boring, and that's always great. It's always nice when people who you're watching in interviews are actually pretty captivating folks and have energy. That's great. I love that. Yeah, I guess if I had any, not even complaints, but kind of like wishes, it's that, and this is not a biggie, but and I'm sure he's a tough get who probably turned down the opportunity, but Hugo Stiglitz would have been a great interview. Like I'm a little bummed that there's not a Hugo Stiglitz interview, but at the same time, you know, I feel like he might not even remember this movie. If you asked him, he's been in a shitload of stuff. I don't even know how fucking old he is now. Jesus. But, you know, I'm sure Brad reached out and either couldn't get a hold of him or it was just a no. Or like timing wouldn't work out or something. But either which way, really solid release. All three of these are great releases and all come recommended. Good stuff. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got for today. It's a good time to be a fan of low budget cult horror movies. It's just nonstop, you know, the waters just keep flowing, dog. I go check out my merch store, check out the Patreon, follow me on Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. And I'm going to try to get this channel more active in the coming month. It's just, since I work with Screen Rant now, it's so hard. Like, I am constantly working. I have barely seen my wife and child the last couple of weeks because I'm just going nonstop, and I've just barely managed to fit this in between one edit and a voiceover. Wow. I will never complain about that type of video format ever again because it's so much work. Anyway, with that being said, thank you so much for watching. Love you guys. I appreciate it. And I'll be back next time with a look at Vinegar Syndrome's Black Friday sale and my recommendations ahead of said sale. Check you later. Rock and roll. And of course, go watch a movie. I'm trying to work in peace. I saw that.